Hello everyone, I'm Zinan from Health and Play Lab at Penn State University. Today, I'm excited to share my research titled More Than Just Microtransaction, Predatory Monetization in User-Generated Game. And let's begin by understanding the concept of predatory monetization. Predatory monetization refers to purchasing systems that had or postpone the complete financial consequences until players are already deeply committed. Recently, some major game platforms have made headlines for such practices. For example, Fortnite was sued for tricking players into buying unwanted items, and Roblox has been reported for enabling children to spend large amounts of money, sometimes without their parents' knowledge or consent. So how exactly does predatory monetization work? First, it operates through manipulated payment system. For instance, players often go through multi-layered currencies. They buy Robux with real money, then use Robux to buy another form of in-game currency, and so on. This layering can obscure the real-world cost and make spending feel less tangible. Second, it involves deceptive design patterns. Many of you may be familiar with the term deceptive patterns. These are design tricks that lead users to take actions they didn't intend. A specific subset called monetary deceptive patterns, which manipulate players into spending money through mechanisms like pay-to-win system or loot boxes. Previous research has highlighted several negative consequences of this system, ranging from financial loss, regret, and a feeling of exploitation, to broader industry concerns like reduced innovation and unfair competition when companies rely too heavily on these tactics. Most existing literature either approach predatory monetization from a business or industry perspective or treats the harms to players as incidental side effects, rather than directly investigating how players themselves understand and experience those consequences. Therefore, this paper aims to understand from players' perspective how they perceive the influence of predatory monetization. We use user-generated game platforms as our study site. These platforms allow individuals to create and publish their own games and typically host millions of games, each with its own monetization strategy, ranging from microtransaction to engagement-based payouts, which turn player time into money. To explore how these monetization strategies affect players, we conducted a semi-structured interview and used a reflexive thematic analysis to analyze the data. Through our analysis, we identified three key themes, and let me start with the first one: monetized interpersonal relationships. This theme reflects how players feel that making game purchases is essential for establishing or maintaining interpersonal relationships with both their online and offline social networks. For instance, P3 described how her cousin felt excluded at school because she couldn't afford to buy the Roblox game Welcome to Bloxburg, which meant that she couldn't join her peers in conversation about the game. This feeling of pressure isn't just limited to peer relationships, it is also show up in family dynamics. For example, P5 shared that they bought a game just so they could play with their nephew, but reflected, "I'm not sure if I ever bought it for the game I personally wanted." This brings us to our first takeaway point. Game platforms like UGGs are increasingly functioning like social media, where participation is driven more by the desire to connect with others than by the game itself. In this environment, players feel their social interactions are being monetized. They may face pressure from game community to buy skins, feel the need to pay to stay with a close friend circle, or spend money to join family members in shared gameplay. The second thing we identified is felt manipulation from monetization practices. Players often share that spending money in games didn't feel entirely voluntary. For instance, as P5 mentioned, with paid access game, players must purchase the game before they can know if it's actually fun or worth it. On UGG platforms, there are typically no refunds for purchased system or items, leaving players uncertain about the value of their purchases. Other than refund policies, certain game design patterns also contribute to this sense of manipulation. For example, P3 described the intrusive pop-up purchase screen that appear without warning, often take more than half of the page, which disrupted their gameplay and forced them to shift attention towards spending decisions. The third theme is about the risks of predatory monetization and the role of family members in mitigating those risks. While previous research has primarily focused on financial loss, we found that players also face security and privacy risks. For example, P23 shared a case where children used the Apple accounts belonging to their friends' parents, logging in with their usernames and password to download Minecraft for free. This is not only demonstrate a privacy breach, but also reflect how predatory monetization can drive children to take ethically and legally questionable action just to access the game. Family members, especially those close in age, may notice these risks and take action. P6, for example, spoke about her younger cousin. I do think she's too young to be spending money on games. I even told my aunt she shouldn't be buying her Robux. And this reflects how family members often step in as informal risk mitigators, especially when younger players are involved. They recognize the early exposure to monetized games and growing the need to intervene. And this brings us to our second takeaway message. Predatory monetization functions as an ecosystem. It emerged from a combination of platform-level policy like no-refund system and game-level deceptive design patterns such as intrusive purchase prompts. Its impact extends beyond individual players, shaping family dynamics and broader social relationships. Moreover, the risks go beyond financial harm, including privacy breaches and security vulnerability, depending on how player responds to this manipulative system. In our paper, we also propose concrete ethical monetization practices and social features that support family-involved gameplay. If you're interested in learning more, please check out our paper. And thank you for your attention.